Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, StartOut, an American-based nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering queer entrepreneurs. That and more on episode 360, so stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hi, this is Emily Saliers from Indigo Girls.
Hey everyone, this is Chris Harder, porn star, burlesque performer, and the creator of Porn to Be a Star. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country. As I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT FM in Toronto, and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada, from coast to coast to coast. The Yukon, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the east coast of Canada in Newfoundland, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a number one LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's Gay and Lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as Canada's number one LGBT podcast on Feedspot.com. So today, founded in 2009, StartOut is an American-based queer nonprofit organization supporting LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs. StartOut has well over 21,000 members nationwide, and its mission is to accelerate the growth of the LGBTQ plus community to drive its economic empowerment, building a world where every queer entrepreneur has equal access to lead, succeed, and shape the workforce of the future. Joining me from StartOut, Director of Programs, Tarik Perkins, joins me to talk about StartOut's Accelerator Program, unique obstacles LGBTQ plus business owners tend to face, and so much more. Plus in hour two, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house, and on this episode I'm featuring some classic disco, some Grace Jones, and more. All that lies ahead as we start Journey 360 through Rainbow Country. And our first stop, the Rainbow Country Bookstore. And on today's episode, queer women have always existed. Let's put them back in the history books. No, they weren't just friends. Author Kirstie Law reads from her latest book, A Short History of Queer Women, available wherever you get your favorite books and on Amazon.ca. It has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars.
Lesbians have always been great at creating spaces for themselves. Take Polish immigrant Eva Kochiva, who in 1925 opened lesbian tea room Eve's Hangout in Greenwich Village, New York. Eve's Hangout was everything you would expect from a Greenwich Village lesbian tea room. There were regular poetry readings, dramatic musical presentations, intense group discussions, cat chat, sex chat, and tea chat. Eva also included men and had a sign on the door that said men are admitted but not welcome. And people say lesbians aren't funny. The bar was successful, but because a successful lesbian is a threat to humanity, the police ransacked the joint. During the raid, the police found Eva's collection of lesbian-centred sexual stories. Eva tried to pretend that they weren't anything to do with lesbianism, but the book's name, Lesbian Love, gave it away. Eva was arrested and charged with obscenity and disorderly conduct. She was deported back to Poland, but somehow managed to make her way to France, where she opened another lesbian tea room that was equally successful. Not long after, the Nazis invaded France. They didn't like Eva, or her successful lesbian tea room. She would be murdered along with thousands of other lesbians in Auschwitz. Just like today, dildos were a common accessory among queer women, only then they weren't as veiny. What's the deal with that? Italian stallion Caterina Vitani was known to carry a leather dildo between her legs and used it to bed over 100 women. Caterina began her bid for top shagger at just 14 years old when she fell in love with her embroidery teacher. The affair lasted for 2 years until the embroidery teacher's father caught them in bed. The father threatened to have Caterina arrested, so she left town and reinvented herself as Giovanni Bodoni. Giovanni was just as charming as Caterina and soon built up a reputation as a serial seducer. That is until she fell in love with the niece of a local minister. Giovanni wanted to marry her, but the minister forbid them from being together due to Giovanni's raunchy reputation. The couple didn't care and decided to get married in secret without the minister's blessing. Unfortunately for Giovanni, the minister found out before they could be married and shot Giovanni in the leg. In the hospital, minutes from death, Giovanni asked for a nun to come to her bed. She then confessed that she had been born a woman and wished to be buried in women's clothing. After Caterina Giovanni's death, a surgeon attempted to find an explanation for what he called those who followed the practices of Sappho. First, he removed the hymen, then the clitoris, followed by the fallopian tubes, the intestines, the liver, and the gallbladder. He then examined them all closely, making sure to use all his expertise and knowledge in the field of biology. And what did he find? Absolutely fuck all. Over in Colombia, Tatiana de la Tierra helped form one of the first international Latina lesbian magazines in the world. Tatiana wanted to empower Latina lesbians through writing and encourage them to challenge social norms. For example, one of her poems, Ode to Unsavory Lesbians, was designed to poke fun at heteronormative societal perceptions of beauty and ugliness, which worked because it's hilarious. Ode to Unsavory Lesbians. I love an ugly lesbian, one who walks with a limp, talks with a lisp, leaves her dentures out overnight by the bathroom sink, wears polyester pants and men's cologne, the cheap kind, has a beard so long she steps on it, sprouts warts on her toes, all 12 of them, carries a spittoon in her breast pocket, chortles at church people. Tatiana also wanted to include non-heterosexual material in the school curriculum. She believed that this would help prevent homophobia in the classroom, as well as educating students on the concept of identity. What a great idea, said nobody, because even today it's a struggle to find anything queer on the school syllabus. Before the AIDS epidemic, gay men and lesbians were often at loggerheads for their political and social differences. Many lesbians resented gay men for being the face of their community, believing them to be sex-crazed cokeheads swanning about in their tank tops, driven by the meat between their legs just like straight men. The feeling was mutual, with screams of "fish" ringing through the room whenever a lesbian walked into a gay bar. It shouldn't be funny, but the idea that someone would shout "fish" at me the moment I step foot in a gay bar really makes me laugh. When AIDS came along, everything changed. Lesbians volunteered to help look after the men who had been left alone in their hospital beds to die. They watched as hundreds and hundreds of young men crawled into the hospital, only to be diagnosed with something that they had never heard of and thrown back out. In a couple of months they would return to die or be used as guinea pigs. To make matters worse, there was a shortage of blood, because gay men had been banned from donating. But, once again, the lesbians stepped up and volunteered their services. One of these lesbians was Barbara Vick, who struck up a deal with a private San Diego blood bank that let donors designate who would receive their blood donations. The San Diego Blood Sisters soon set to work and over the next 5 years organised several blood drives. Barbara knew that although lesbians weren't at the forefront of the disease, they had to do everything in their power to help those who had suffered. There was no longer a divide between gay men and lesbians, it was now an attack on the community. But it wasn't just lesbians who got involved. Meetings to discuss the epidemic were put together by various groups throughout the community. All sorts of lives, all sorts of races, sexualities, genders. There was no time for animosity, no time for separatism, politics, or agendas. Everybody had a role, and everybody needed to do their part. So they did. To this day, no apology has ever been made to the LGBTQIA+ community, and in 2016, Hillary Clinton tried praising the Reagans for their handling of the epidemic, saying, "Because of both President and Miss Reagan, in particular Miss Reagan, we started a national conversation when nobody would talk about it, nobody wanted to do anything about it." Not only a huge, great, stinking lie, this also served to erase the thousands and thousands of activists who actually did talk about it while nobody was doing anything to help. Look, I like you, Hillary, really, I do. You should have been president, but spare us the bullshit.
I'm Sky Gilbert, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tarik.
Up next, Director of Programs at StartOut, Tarik Perkins. Tarik Perkins, hi, how are you?
Hi, Mark. I'm doing great. Pleasure to be here.
I have to say thank you for being here to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for that, especially to talk about StartOut. StartOut. You are the Director of Programs at StartOut. Let's start here. Basics. Sure. StartOut. What is StartOut?
StartOut is the largest LGBTQ organization that is here to support founders of businesses all across the United States to be the best that they can be and contribute to the greater economy. We also support founders internationally as well. That's what StartOut is about.
So you are the Director of Programs at StartOut. What does that entail? Talk to me about what is it that you do in particular at StartOut.
Well, I manage a team of amazing people who are here to support our mission. My team, I have a team of 6 people, and we deliver some amazing programs to our LGBTQ founder community, which is obviously designed to help accelerate their growth. Maybe I'll start with our Growth Lab, which is our Accelerator Program. It's an amazing 5-month intensive boot camp for founders who have very high growth potential and are ready to be leveled up. So we put them through an amazing host of workshops, mentorships, and put them in front of investors and really help to boost their growth. We also have an Access to Capital program. So I manage the person who runs that program. And that program is all about getting our founders in front of investors and really pushing investment into their businesses. We also have an amazing mentorship program. And We have a mentorship manager, Alison Wright, who does a phenomenal job of matching our founders with people who can help take them, to the stars. We have expert office hours, which is a much more self-service type program, if you will, where founders can sign up with experts in various areas such as fundraising, marketing, HR, legal support to help to solve specific problems in 1 hour long sessions. We also have an amazing person who is all about the founder experience. His name is Derek Faust, and he will help all of our founders through their journey, link them into the right programs, provide them with information, connections, support, and make sure that they have the best experience while working with us at StartOut. So my job is to manage that amazing team of people. Andrew Zaro is the Access to Capital Program Manager. I'd love to give him a shout out as well. Chris Davidson and Jake Hannigan, those are the ones that run the Growth Lab. Danielle Wiggins supports the Access to Capital program. They're an amazing, phenomenal team. I love working with them every day. They inspire me, they teach me, they help me to grow. So it's really a pleasure to support them and to bring them the resources and the assistance to help them show up and be the best people that they can be, to support our founders who are, really here to get the best support, to be a part of a world where every LGBTQ entrepreneur has equal access to lead, succeed, and shape the workforce of the future. That's what I do. That's what we're about. And it really gives me so much joy to go to work every day and work with this amazing team of people and, other folks across the length and breadth of the organization. We have such an amazing, inspiring, talented, brilliant group of human beings who show up with love and humanity every day. To help move our work forward.
You have your plate full.
It is a very full plate, but it's full of goodness. So
Yeah.
I enjoy sitting to feast every day.
Okay, so StartOut, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering LGBTQ plus entrepreneurs. JP Morgan, a global leader in financial services for the world's most important corporations, governments, institutions. StartOut and JP Morgan have joined forces to create this LGBT Accelerator Program. You were just mentioning about it before, but in regards to this, can you talk to me more specifically about this Accelerator Program and what it entails?
So you mentioned JP Morgan Chase, and I really want to take a moment to shine some light and really big up JP Morgan. JP Morgan has been there since the very beginning of the Growth Lab. In fact, way before. The relationship with JP Morgan started around 2012, and the Growth Lab was founded in 2017. So, the relationship and the contribution that they've made to support this program is absolutely invaluable. Now getting into the actual accelerator, I think I would love to start with our head EIR, who is Chris Davidson. Chris Davidson is an amazing human being. If you could just imagine the most loving, big, handsome, charming teddy bear coming to your class every day and leading with humanity, as he likes to say. And that is really the mantra of the Growth Lab. We focus in on our founders. We focus in on how they're doing, how they're able to show up as amazing human beings who are here to take on this incredible journey of being an entrepreneur. And then we look at their companies next. It's a very intensive program where every week there's a session put in by an amazing external presenter who has been hand-chosen to engage with our cohorts, as well as they get one-on-one attention weekly from supporting entrepreneurs in residence, graduates of the program who come back to give their time to support the amazing cohort, as well as direct access to our lead EIR as well. It's quite comprehensive. It's 5 full months of work. They have amazing assignments they have to do that help them to put their best foot forward. We help them with coming up with an amazing 18-month strategic plan for their companies that really helps them to level up. And we do all of this while integrating the other services that we offer in StartOut. So they do get access to a mentor. They get put in front of several investors to help get capital to support their businesses. They get access to all the other services that our other founders get. So this Growth Lab it's our premium product where, the founders are given such great, tremendous access to all the resources that we have in our community, and the resources are innumerable. It's really a phenomenal program, and it gets better and better with every cohort.
So StartOut and JP Morgan Chase, they're working with, I believe, 10 high-performing LGBTQ plus companies in this Accelerator program. I believe you were just saying 5-month program. Companies in the fields like healthcare, climate, fashion, education. If you could distill it down, what would you say is the ideal outcome that essentially you hope that these companies come away with after being part of this Accelerator program? What would you say is the ideal outcome for them that hopefully they'll get from the program?
There's two ways I like to look at outcome. I like to look at it in kind of like the cold hard facts of numbers. So we want to see there's a couple key performance indicators that we like to track. So we want to see increased numbers of employees. Sometimes that's not the desired outcome. Sometimes it's really helping them to walk through trimming the fat to make themselves more efficient. But most times it's about really contributing to the economy by growing their companies, growing the value of the company, growing the capital that they're able to raise while they're in the program through our provision of access to capital. These are some of the cold, hard indicators that I like to think about. But then there's the other side of it, which is really more about the humanity of the founders. Many of our founders come in without the self-confidence to be able to speak in front of a room of investors, or without the access to resources and people and information and knowledge to be able to solve the problems that they have as they embark upon their entrepreneurship journey. So those are the softer outcomes that we want to be able to see in our founders as well. Having the confidence to be able to sell themselves and their business as well. Having the connections to be able to make things happen to support the growth and development of their businesses. Those are the things that you can't really put into numbers and you can't really quantify. They're very qualitative in nature, and they're very important to the success of every entrepreneur. And we also try to ensure that we do that. We're constantly and intentionally linking up our founders, not only with each other, but with past alumni, with other founders from the rest of our ecosystem, with investors, with mentors, with experts. It's making those human connections and introductions. That's what really creates the magic of the accelerator, in addition to the technical skills and the cold, hard information that helps them to thrive as well.
So StartOut is American-based, correct?
Yes, we're American-based and American-focused.
Have there been companies that are Canadian that have been part of the Accelerator program?
Yes, we've had Canadian companies that have participated in the Growth Lab and in other areas of our program as well.
So it's not just strictly American companies you're looking at?
No, we don't have a hard bar from companies outside of the US from accessing our services. They will not be able to participate in the Accelerator program, and they may not be able to gain access to capital services because of the limitations that US investors will have in supporting international folks. But we do allow them to access all of the networking tools. We allow them to access the experts. We allow them to access the mentors. So even though we are US based and US focused, we do not close our doors, so to speak, to international founders who are out there. We do track them in the same way, and engage them and provide them with whatever resources we do. I should also mention we also have mentors in our network who are international as well, and we're able to make those connections internationally. So it's not necessarily a part of our vision and strategic plan to support internationally, but we do as we can anyway, provide as much support as we can to our LGBTQ founders all over the world.
And on that note, we'll return after this Rainbow Country update.
Hi, everyone. This is Mark Tewksbury, Olympic champion, leader, humanitarian. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Hitmakers is a full-service, award-winning record label and social enterprise based in Iqaluit, Nunavut. We specialize in the creating and marketing of world-class Inuit and Indigenous music, including pop, hip-hop, rock, folk, and traditional Inuit music. Hitmakers has studios in Iqaluit, Ottawa, and Toronto. The label currently works with more than 20 Inuit and Indigenous artists, and we represent and promote many more. The company was founded in 2016, and our mission is to create viable careers in the arts for Inuit and Indigenous artists through music, media, and education. Our secondary mission is to empower artists to share and strengthen their stories and culture. To learn more, please connect with us on social media or at hitmakers.com. That's Hitmakers with a Z. Thanks for listening. Koyanami.
Canada's LGBTQ2+ archives just released Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada. Order a copy from your local bookstore to dive into hundreds of loud and proud stories and photos of historical queer life in Canada from pre-1939 to today. Get your copy from your local bookstore. Out North, an archive of queer activism and kinship in Canada.
Hi, my name is Joanne Vanicola, and I'm an actor and a writer, and I was first on Rainbow Country with Mark Tara on discussing the massacre at Pulse Club in Orlando. I realized how important it was for our community to have a radio station, specifically for our issues, to talk about people in the LGBTQ community and to provide an outlet for our stories, to discuss our politics, culture, and give voice to the issues that matter to us, and of course our artists and the things that we do globally, and talk about culture. And without people like Mark Tara providing a space for this with a radio show like this, then we wouldn't have that voice. So support, tune in. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Bennett Singer, a documentary filmmaker and the co-director of the new film Cured. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
So I think it's fair to say that LGBTQ plus business owners, they face unique obstacles. Can you talk to me about what type of obstacles we're talking about when it comes to, LGBTQ plus business owners and their businesses, and some obstacles that they may face? Can you talk to me about some of these obstacles?
Sure. I always like to start this conversation with the 2.2 that have been invested in startups over the last 2 decades in the United States. $2.2 trillion. That's a lot of money in startups in general. Of that $2.2 trillion, how much would you guess goes to LGBTQ founders in the United States?
Probably zero.
Well, it's very close to zero. 0.5% go to LGBTQ plus founders.
Wow.
While the nationwide population of LGBTQ plus individuals stands at somewhere around 7.1%, according to the Gallup poll. But we all know that we are more than 7% of the population. In addition to that egregious fact about how the pie is shared up when it comes to investment dollars, would you believe that lenders can still discriminate against LGBTQ plus business owners in more than half of the states in the United States of America?
I believe it.
More than half of the states, there's no explicit legislation that says you cannot discriminate on a customer who's seeking credit based on their sexual orientation. So it's still possible to discriminate. And then when we think about intersectionality, so when we have multiple factors of underrepresentation taking place, when you think about Black founders, women founders, Latinx founders, who are also queer, that's where you are seeing doubly and triply the amount of disadvantage that these founders are able to experience and face.
Why do you think in America it hasn't been legislated that you cannot discriminate against someone based on their sexual orientation? Why do you think it is still possible to do that in America in 2023?
Well, it's
a big question, I know, but
it's a big question. I mean, there are many reasons why. I think the general reason why is that a large part of this country has very conservative values around what it means to be same gender loving. And there's a very deep Bible Belt in this country that does not approve of who we are. And as a result, will protect their laws from being able to discriminate. And so they protect their local legislation from being able to provide or not provide services based on how they perceive someone's sexual orientation to be. I think that's kind of the heart of it. There's other reasons at play as well. But I think that if you were to ask me my opinion, I think that kind of distills down to the core of it.
Earlier, you were talking about mentorship and offering that aspect of StartOut to its participants. Can you talk to me about how StartOut pairs a mentor to a potential client, so to speak, or business owner?
Sure. This is a very good question. I love talking about this. Mentorship is such a powerful transformational tool, and I'm so happy that we're able to provide it. And I'm also proud of the way in which we intentionally make these matches. We do not use software or AI or an algorithm or anything to make these matches on our behalf. We very intentionally sit and think, looking at all of the criteria that our founders bring to the table and what their business problems are, about what the best match would be for them. And it's quite a process, a painstaking process that yields great results. Once the match is made, it's a double opt-in. So the founder has to confirm that they like their mentor. The mentor has to confirm that they like their founder. And once they embark on this journey, we do check-ins to make sure that the pairing is going well. So there's a 2-week check-in, there's a 1-month check-in, there's a 3-month check-in, and there's a 6-month check-in at the end of the relationship, just to ensure that we're getting great satisfaction rates on both sides. And I can tell you, it's amazing. We have over 90% satisfaction on both sides, on the mentee side and the mentor side, with the work that we do in the mentorship program. Program manager for the mentorship program.
AI, artificial intelligence, it's a real thing. Do you think that So two things. One, do you think that StartOut will implement artificial intelligence when it comes to any aspect of what it does, do you think? And secondly, are there LGBT companies that are like maybe, doing artificial intelligence of some sort that has been on StartOut's radar at all that you're aware of?
I love this question because it's really at the forefront of where we are today. And there's so much talk about AI and the potential of AI and, the power that it brings to businesses and business people. So certainly we've been sinking our teeth into the discussion at StartOut. The way we are looking at it, I'm not going to say that we are going to start using AI internally to replace or replicate the services that we provide, because I think one of the things that makes our services so important to our founders is the fact that it is so human driven and it's so reliant on the natural intelligence of our staff who carry out the work. However, I will say there is an incredible potential that AI does bring to the table. And if the world is harnessing that power to move business forward, to make business more efficient, then certainly I would want for our LGBTQ plus founders to at least have the option to decide whether they want to incorporate AI into their business model. And if they do, to help them to do it better than anyone else is doing it out there. So that at the end of the day, our LGBTQ plus founder community is not left out of the conversation and is not left without a seat at the table if they so desire to incorporate and benefit from leveraging the potential that AI might bring. So we already have talks and presentations as a part of our growth lab focused on AI. We have founders who have passed through our doors who are AI based, and we continue to grow that pool of founders. And yes, we are very much interested in growing our ability to support founders who want to make that a part of their business model. In as much as we're here to support founders who don't want to make AI a part of their business model. For us, I think it's more about giving every founder who happens to be a part of our community the best chance at success in a way that is very much guided by their own principles and their own desires for their businesses.
Tarik, how did you get involved with StartOut?
It's a very interesting story. It really feels like the universe brought me into this space. I really believe strongly that I manifested this role for myself. I recently moved to the States last year in April with my husband and 2 kids to start a new life without a plan. Things were just kind of like falling into place. There wasn't a clear decision to move here. We just kind of ended up here, and then 2 weeks turned into 4 weeks, turned into a month, turned into 2 months. And then I was like, I need a job. This is not going to be possible in this country without some US income. And so I was talking to one of my best friends, and she was like, so what do you want to do? And I said, I want to work for an organization that's mission driven, that supports a disadvantaged or underrepresented community, Black community, the LGBTQ plus community. I want to be in a position of leadership. I want to work remote because I live in the middle of nowhere on Seneca Lake, upstate New York, and there's no jobs around here that I would want to do. So it has to be 100% remote. And it has to have something to do with business because that's been my life. It has to have something to do with social justice because that's been my life. And the next day, she sent me an email and said, I found this and I think it might be perfect for you. I opened it up and there it was, Director of Programs, StartOut. And Mark, I kid you not, I applied nowhere else. I just focused on this one application. I took 2 days to prepare my application. I sent it in. The next day I got a call, an email from the chief of operations, and it was requesting an interview. The following week, I had a slew of interviews, and then I got the job. One application.
Wow. And you're originally from where?
I'm originally from Jamaica, from Kingston, Jamaica.
I was born in Trinidad.
You were born in, oh wow, okay.
Yeah,
did not know that.
Right. Came to Canada as a little kid with my family, and yeah. Don't you have like a baking background or something?
I do. I managed my family business, which is a 40-year-old bakery that was founded by my mother.
Wow.
Turned 40 this year. So I was the managing director for a little over 8 years, I think. But I'd been part of the company. I grew up in the business and did several other things before I became the managing director in my professional career. But yeah, so I am technically a baker, and really proud of that part of my career journey.
And what was the best-selling product, or is the best-selling product at your family business?
The Maxfield Easter Bun, which is our flagship product, and it's a seasonal product. And every year, Jamaicans all over the world, at home and abroad, enjoy this product. We export to the US, Canada, UK, other Caribbean territories, and it's something I'm really proud to be a part of, and to have as a part of my story and my history. It's very humbling. I'm very proud of my mother for what she created, and yeah, it's phenomenal.
What's the name of the company again? The bakery company?
It's called Maxfield Bakery.
And what's the name of the bun that you guys sell?
The Maxfield Easter Bun. And there's a spice bun as well that's available right around the year, but the Easter bun is a seasonal one that all Jamaicans everywhere will know about and love.
Wow. Well done. Who knew, Tarik? Who knew? So here's my last question for you, Tarik. In closing, yes. What would you like? Is there anything else that you wanted to let people know about StartOut that maybe we haven't touched on?
I would love to call everyone who's listening in to, if you have a business, if you have high growth potential, if you think you have the chops, please go to our website, startout.org. We offer so much support to our LGBTQ founder community. That's the only requirement, is to be a part of our community. And we have so much to offer, so much going on. And I encourage everyone to check it out and become a part of our community.
Well said. Tarik Perkins, thank you so much for your time. Well said. Well done. Apparently well baked, too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was a tremendous pleasure.
To find out even more about this organization, simply visit StartOut.org.
Magnus Hirschfeld made the modern homosexual. He co-founded the world's first gay rights group, the Scientific Humanitarian Committee, in Berlin in 1897. But what is far more important is that he and his colleagues came up with an enormously influential concept of what same-sex desire was, what it meant, and how it fit into the wider world. If you think homosexuality is an inborn quality that cannot be changed and has a biological root, but is not an illness, and if you think gay people are a sexual minority who are born that way and who deserve legal protections just as racial minorities do, you owe those ideas to Hirschfeld and a handful of others. He was among the first to articulate that conceptual model of what it means to be gay in print in 1896.
We just heard professor, author, and historian of queer and trans politics, Lori Marhofer, reading from Racism and the Making of Gay Rights, a sexologist, his student, and the Empire of Queer Love, their powerful new gay history book, about the man who made the modern homosexual, a German physician and sexologist who died at the age of 67 in 1935. Magnus Hirschfeld.
Hi, I'm Agnes. My new record, Magic Still Exists, is out now. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Taking us to hour 2 of Rainbow Country, the story behind Martha and the Muffins, Echo Beach. So Echo Beach, the single that went around the world, top 5 in Canada, top 6 in Australia, top 10 in the UK, reached number 11 on the Irish charts, reached number 37 on the Billboard Dance Chart, won the Juno for Single of the Year, and I believe has close to 30 million streams on Spotify. The album, Metro Music, that featured Echo Beach, went gold. In 2005, the song was named the 35th greatest Canadian song of all times on CBC Radio 1 series 50 Tracks. How did Echo Beach come about? What inspired the song originally?
Well, Mark can answer that because he wrote the song. So take it away, Mark.
Okay, well, a couple of years before the band got together, I had a summer job at a wallpaper factory. And as the summer job person, my job was to separate the bad wallpaper from the good. And what I mean by that is that the factory had these huge presses that printed the design on the wallpaper. And it seemed like quite frequently something would go wrong and they'd grind it to a halt. They'd take this giant roll off and roll it over to me. And then I would have to hand wind the whole thing off and separate the stuff that hadn't been damaged from the stuff that was damaged. So as you can imagine, this wasn't exactly rocket science. So your mind was free to wander where it did. And the germ of the idea was that I'd rather be somewhere else than here. And so when I was writing this song, I couldn't very well say my job is very boring. I'm a wallpaper inspection clerk.
Doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, that doesn't really...
I wouldn't have wanted to sing it that way either.
Yeah, I mean, Martha probably would have refused to sing that anyway, but so I had to find something more universal, and I thought, well, an office clerk, that's a hard job, to be in all the time, or I imagined that was the case. And the second verse came from a night that a friend of mine who owned a motorcycle and I rode down to Sunnyside Beach on Lake Ontario. And I think we'd smoked a bit of weed and we were looking out there, and looking back at the city seemed like a surrealistic sight. So basically those two ideas came together in the song.
And you were also trying to write a song that Brian Ferry would sing.
That's right.
Lyrically.
Yeah, at the time, Martha and I and some other people in the band were huge Roxy Music fans. And when it came to the lyrics, I thought I was very influenced by Brian Ferry. And I thought, well, how would he do this? And you can imagine, I think you can actually imagine Brian Ferry singing the lyrics to Echo Beach, because I know it's out of fashion and a trifle uncool, but I can't help it. I'm a romantic fool. Like it's so like Noel Coward, and from there to Brian Ferry, like it's more like a 1940s or 30s tongue-in-cheek song, lyrically about being on holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys ever reach out to Brian Ferry when the song was a hit?
Well, they asked us, Roxy Music asked us to open for them in the UK and Europe. And we did do that. We were on tours, and we did London, Wembley, and we did a show in Glasgow. And then Brian Ferry came down with kidney stones.
kidney stones, and they had to cancel the rest of the tour.
Yeah, they canceled the rest of the tour.
But we did play with them, as Martha says, at Wembley Arena in London and the Glasgow Apollo.
And the band was very friendly, except for Brian Ferry, like before he got sick. Maybe he wasn't feeling well, but he never came back to say hello.
But, we had good talks with Phil Manzanera and Andy McKay and their manager and stuff. And, it was quite something to open for them. And just as an aside, the Glasgow Apollo was notorious for its super high stage. It was like 20 feet high. Nobody could explain why it was so high, but they had warned us because, we were opening for Roxy. So all of our stuff was at the front of the stage. They said, whatever you do not go near the edge of the stage. Because I believe there was somebody who fell off and broke their leg or something. And who knows why they designed it that way, but it was crazy high.
Phone rings. I got a message from the mayor. He's going to call me back the next day. I get the call, and he said, if you'd accept, we'd like to honor you with the key to the city. There was an event later that year in May. Just a key, right? Like, key to what? A decent job, a good singing career. It's really a metaphor, but it's history. So a reporter wants to talk to me and says, so it's a key, right? Like, what's the big deal? I said, well, not everybody gets the key. So I looked it up, and I guess it is kind of a big deal.
The date, May 17th, 2018, when trans activist Susan Gapka made history by becoming the first trans woman to be presented with the key to the city of Toronto. By the way, past recipients include Rush and the Raptors. And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, simply head over to marktara.com, where everything is connected, and hit the archives banner. To keep up to date with the show, check out the socials at Mark Tara. The podcast is available on all major platforms, including audible.com and iHeartRadio. Finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, despite all the craziness in the world these days, know this, that we are living in days of making dreams come true, so believe in yourself. And the world will believe in you.
Hi, this is Police Constable Danielle Botno, also known as LGBT Cop, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.